move fast is much more important to them. Yeah? So you can move fast while saving money. Yeah? So there's a win-win situation in all of this. And with moving fast, I don't mean just click of a button and get yourself 100 or 1,000 instances, while that is still important for many of you. Moving fast also means being able to make use of all the different services that AWS offers you. Yeah, so with well over 90 services at this moment available for all of you, it means that you can really focus on things that matter to you and your application and your business. Yeah? All of us need to run search. Yeah, I mean, there is no website, there is no app, basically, that doesn't have search functionality in it. Yeah? It's not a competitive differentiator at all. I mean, it is if you don't have it. Yeah? But it clearly is something that your customers will expect of you. That means all of you have to run both Lucene and Solar if you need to do this by yourself. And actually scaling those two up is a pretty hard problem to do. And it means you have to put a lot of effort and mechanisms and tools into it for something that isn't really core part of your business. So making use of Cloud Search or Elasticsearch as the services that we're offering there allows you to just offload that to Amazon. So where you no longer have to think about sort of doing these kind of core tasks that you have to do, but are not making your application any better by actually executing them. So and it means it's across the board, whether you're operating in IoT, whether you're building mobile applications, whether you're doing analytics, each and every one of those, we've got a variety of tools and mechanisms available for you to actually do whatever you want to do. Yeah, and we'll go into detail a bit further on in the presentation in some of those, but it does mean that for you it's important, if you want to move fast, you make use of as many of these services as possible and focus really on the things that make you unique and is different for you. In all of that, there's still this little blue box at the bottom. Yeah, which is sort of the core services of AWS. And if you pop that one out, it's pretty amazing. It's not just that there's this little block box there, it's actually pretty deep in each of those categories. And whether it's computer, databases, networking, sort of the core infrastructure pieces. And if you just look at compute by itself, that's a pretty amazing group of services and instance types available for you. And remember that within each of those instance types, there are again sizings. Yeah, and so you can pick exactly that kind of instance type that you need for the particular application that you have in mind. And as I said earlier, you can make mistakes. If you thought you were CPU bound, but you turn out to be memory bound, get yourself a different size. Yeah, or you don't have to start with the largest instance type. Yeah, you can actually start small, and when you need more memory, you can sort of start increasing the instance type that you have. So you have all these tools available for you, where you can pick exactly what you need at that particular moment. If we look at sort of these capabilities, one of the things that is most important for me in this graphics is actually the numbering. C5 means that we're only on the 5th generation of our compute-intensive platforms. We continuously improve these platforms and roll out new ones. If you would have to do this on the premise, you would probably still be stuck with C1 or C2 because it's much harder for individuals to actually sort of innovate at the speed that Amazon is innovating. Yeah. And so whether you want to use G2s, the graphics processing units that we have for really gaming and graphics processing, or the P2s, which are general purpose GPUs, which are very popular at this moment for sort of deep learning and other highly parallel operations. M4 still remain the workhorses that we have, and then there is also, in each of them, whether it's dense storage or memory intensive, large memories, all of those are important for our customers. And the X1s are there, especially if you're interested in SAP HANA, you need a lot of memory. Those are really good. Quite a few have asked for GPUs, for particular combinations of GPUs and CPUs. And that's of course harder to put them in a box together, so we developed something for you called Elastic GPUs, and you can attach a GPU to almost any of the instance types that we have if you need local GPU processing. There's a cool one, the last one of the newer ones that we released is the F1s, which are FPGA instance types. That means that you can make use of hardware acceleration for the applications that you have. You have a stable application that will be that you could actually develop as an FPGA image. And you can do that just on your desktop and then package it as an image and load it onto the F1s. And you can see significant hardware acceleration happening because of using the FPGAs. And quite a few of those images are actually available in the marketplace. For example, there is an image available for you to do live video encoding, and that one runs about 30x faster than any combination of GPU, CPU that you can find on the Amazon platform. So take a look if you have a stable application that can benefit from hardware acceleration. Consider to build it as an FPGA image. You get significant improvements in that. So with all of these different services available, it means that our customers can move fast and be agile. And there's probably no bigger sort of challenge for many of the enterprises to go from, let's say, being a traditional enterprise to a very fast-moving one. Because for many enterprises, it is that their world is changing rapidly and need to address and serve their customers in many different ways. And so I'd like to, very happy that Peter Rix, the CTO of AppSire, is available for us to talk to you about how they're making use of AWS to move faster. Peter.
Morning, everyone. I'm delighted to be here to share our journey. It's a journey that has been really, really interesting, and we've worked with a partner like AWS really to start changing our culture of the organization to take new ways of working and to be able to bring value to our clients a lot quicker. And even more importantly for me is that our staff are able to really have a good place to work and to enjoy what they're doing. So let me tell you a little bit about the story and where it began. We started in 2015 in May, and we were running a hackathon. This was in the dungeons in some place in Joburg. You can just see the grunge and the way the beat going on and down, typical IT type thing where you want to run this stuff. And basically what happened is all our staff started arriving. It was the first one we'd ever run. And the first thing they said was, how do we do this? You know, we haven't got infrastructure with us. Do we develop on our laptops? And how do you make it forward? You don't have access to the production servers, the development servers. And we sat them all down, and before we kicked off, we basically said, we have AWS with us. We have been working with them, and we've had a really, really good set of insights as to how to take this forward. AWS came through and they gave us tokens and credits so that we could use their infrastructure, and we explained how to work with the AWS engineers to get going. So pull the trigger, the 24-hour hackathon starts, and off it goes. And we just sat back and we watched. And it was a really, really incredible experience to see how within an hour people were getting their infrastructure up and running, stuff that they didn't seem and didn't know was possible. This is a bank, you know, you can't move that fast. Supersonic speed starting to come through. And Mike, I don't know if you remember, you know, sitting there 2 hours into this, one of these ladies comes running to me and says, Peter, we have a shop up and running. This is going to be what we're going to build for the whole thing. We landed in a position where people were excited. We put basic connectivity into AWS. We started talking to the regulators. We started experimenting. We failed on a lot of stuff. We were successful on a lot of stuff. So it was a really, really good learning post to where we are and where we ended up. So where are we now? I mean, that was 24 months ago when we started that. And now 24 months later, we have an engineering network. It is decoupled from our production network. It is coupled directly into AWS. It runs a system that we built ourselves that allows us to take, for example, an AppSire Linux build, and that means it's fortified, it's got all the logging and the monitoring capabilities, everything you need to be able to run. And the guys create and destroy this as they want. They have total freedom, machines aren't locked down. And for a bank, this was never heard of. You are so locked down inside a bank that it's really, really hard, you know. So we created this network that allows us to connect. And we actually use our API connectivity back into the bank so that we're able to connect into our test environments that are on the legacy systems and that type of stuff. So So it's a really quick way for us to start moving and developing and taking ourselves forward. The next thing we have done is that we've connected high bandwidth capability into AWS in our production networks, an extension of our production networks, and that allows us to really deploy stuff in production modes into AWS, and obviously with all the security that's associated with that and how we take it forward. So that is a great move. We then took the apps.co.za website and we put that into AWS. It took us quite a lot of time. We had to go through all the security that was discussed earlier. It was a big learning capability, but now that is running in AWS today. And even more exciting for us is that we're sitting in a situation where we are Pan-African Bank, and we are able to roll out this to one of our Pan-African banks in 6 weeks. This is not anything other than putting down infrastructure, software, content, security, all of those things we're putting up, and we're able to do that in 6 weeks. That was never ever heard of, to be able to do that in the past. And I'm sure you can imagine most of that is content. It's not the infrastructure anymore. We're able to move very fast on that. So it's a really pleasing place to be. We're also, and talking again around security, we're archiving into the cloud. We're encrypted with our own keys, and we're pushing all our big old data into the cloud, locked down onto S3 storage. Really good place for us to land as well. And associated with that, we're building APIs to that, which allows our developers to push buttons and essentially archive automatically into the cloud. And that's got some really good cost efficiencies, speed, savings, and everything else that comes with it. So also a fantastic place for us to land. The story I like to talk about, and it's what I call the caveman. One of our areas has got this thing called the caveman world. The impossible task of putting legacy into the cloud, just not possible. And these guys have really come through. They've created containers. They're running their dev and test legacy systems ready for production. We haven't taken it to production yet, but stuff that was impossible to do, they are now running dev and test legacy capability in the cloud. And that is really good. We're going through our final pen tests, penetration tests that are associated with the containers, and the aim is to then take that live when we're ready with that. And we don't see that too far away. I love the born in the cloud capability. We're sitting with our born in the cloud, many applications. We've got rules engines as an example that we've taken straight up, put it into the cloud, built it with the appropriate capabilities, proper DevOps capabilities, continuous integration, continuous delivery, and these are really making us move fast. We're moving at supersonic speed. We don't do it every day, but we're able to put it into the cloud if we wanted to, or on our own works. We can go either way. We can put in our software with daily changes, and that born in the cloud capability is really good. We're enhancing that now with red and green sites, so that we're able to also switch on and off containers very quickly. And that's a power position for us to work in as a bank. So that's where we are today. We've been engaging with regulators, and we've had a lot of good success in the way that we take that forward. So where are we going? Right, we're a bank. We have to worry about security. We underestimated actually how much it takes to put all the security in place. We underestimated how much it would take to put all the operations in place. But we're busy putting this nice capability around it so that we're able to scale. We know we can do it in little bits and pieces, but we want to be able to scale the organization. So we're investing a lot of time with the right operations, the right security, so that we can take that forward. We're also educating our staff. All right, so I'm really pleased. One of our guys has just gone through their professional engineering AWS certification. I think he's one of 14 people in South Africa. We have many associates, but the professional is one of 14. The other 13 are probably sitting in this crowd, or I hope they are. And that's the type of investment, and we're trying to encourage people to go down that route to be able to get to this particular place. So really good place for us to land. I spoke about us taking a Linux build that is an Apsa build that we can deploy immediately. We are automating as much as we can. We're looking to say, well, how do we do it with SQL? How do we do it with Windows? How do we do it with application servers, with different other databases, so that when we push a button in our development environments, automatic stack creation, but not the normal ones that are sitting in AWS on top of AWS with the appropriate capability that we need on top of it. So a lot of investment going in there. but even more importantly, trying to change the culture of the organization. And we're actually finding it easier and easier as time goes by to change the organization and the way that we deal in culture, because people are getting attracted to it. We don't have to do very much anymore. People are coming and they're wanting to see it and they want to take it forward. So, why is this going to work for us? I'm sure many of you understand and know that we're in a situation at AXA where we need to change the way we're working. We have a unique opportunity to do things differently, and we're going down this route to re-architect the bank. And we want to use this opportunity to work with our partners of AWS and many other internal capabilities that we're building as we take skills forward. And we're really going through and saying, well, how do we change and use the unique opportunity we're in to scale and to do stuff quickly? We're working extremely hard in understanding what is required. We're investing a lot on containers to understand the importance of how to use the likes of containers and to run what we've got to do. But this unique opportunity allows us to go down and scale the way that we're operating the bank. Ideally, we want to do like a mass migration and bring in hundreds and thousands of points of infrastructure and to do it in the new ways. But we're busy working on how do we do this in a good way. And we don't believe we could do it if we had not gone down the route of working with a partner like AWS on this. And we can do it securely, we can do it at supersonic speed, and it's a fantastic place for us to land. So we're going through, we're educating our staff, we believe it'll work, we're having a lot of enthusiasm around it. It's allowing us to attract the right type of staff. The type of staff that we could not attract in the past, a big, slow, clunky bank. We're doing some pretty cool stuff now, and it's the right outcome for us. So, I'm really looking forward to moving forward with AWS, with our staff, doing things differently and scaling out where we are. So, just to wrap up there, I'm really pleased to have been given this opportunity to talk about our story. It's one I think is going to be very successful. Thank you for allowing us to talk about how we're able to do now at supersonic speed. Thank you.